So I went, so I went to Bishop and I went to St John's, and then I went through to Darlington to Queen Elizabeth. I also forget what I did, art, textiles, psychology, and I can't actually remember the third one I did. That's terrible, isn't it? But yeah, I kind of did all right at that, and then managed to get into Manchester and did fashion marketing there. And it was because of the university course I was on that offered a placement. So I was working at Hugo Boss at the time on the shop floor. Didn't necessarily love it, just kind of as a Saturday job. But that actually allowed me to get a placement in New York for Hugo Boss in the head offices and working on their marketing team. So that was kind of going from Darlington and Manchester through to New York to understand these massive companies, these massive organizations, and just seeing a big company work, even just being there and listening to other people and what they're talking about, that you learn so much, even though if you're not necessarily doing all the doing. That went from there. I then came back to London and there was 6 months left on my placement. And that's when I went and worked for Christopher Rayburn, which was a menswear designer. And that's when I got into more product development. So product development in fashion is when you have a designer and they will draw a pretty sketch and say, this is what I want. And then the product developer will take that sketch and they will work with manufacturers. So I worked with manufacturers in London, in Asia, in Italy, and we pick fabrics, we'd make patterns, and the product developer would basically bring the product to life. So that's kind of what I did when I was in London. I worked at Christopher Rayburn, we did London Fashion Week. I then went to Amelia Wickstead. So I was running the show there in terms of the studio, getting everything ready for Amelia Wickstead. Alexa Chung would wear our stuff. We did a lot of things for amazing kind of high-end celebrities. The dresses were £3,000-4,000. I actually developed one dress, wedding dress, that was £45,000, which I still cannot believe to this day that people pay that amount of money for one dress. But that just shows the amount of kind of detail that kind of went into the development process. I was sourcing lace and fabric from Italy. We were then getting it back to the UK. So there was so many different pieces of the pie just to make one dress at that time. And then these were really small companies. And I think when you're in a really small company, you sometimes strive and think, I want to be in a massive company because then I'll be able to leave work on time and it'll be fantastic and I'll just love it so much better. And you always sometimes think the grass is greener. So then I moved to Burberry. I got a job as a product developer at Burberry in menswear, and I didn't like it. It was too much of a big company for me. I'd kind of gone from these small little companies where I had a voice, I could say my opinion, people would go, well, that's a good idea. Oh, Jenny, you're doing a great job, to a massive company where there was 5,000 of us, and I was just inputting data. I was just kind of in and out, doing the same job, the same every single day, and there wasn't huge job satisfaction. And I think that's when I realized for me, big businesses weren't the answer. Small businesses where I had to kind of stay till midnight and work really hard was more what I like doing. And that's when I decided to quit my job and start my business, which was the first business, the Gypsy Shrine. So you might have seen, I launched that in 2016, and that's kind of when Instagram was just getting started. So Instagram was just becoming a thing. It wasn't anything like it is today. And we started making this Instagram account and going to these festivals and doing all these amazing body creations, putting glitter on everyone's hair, faces, you name it, going wild, and then putting these pictures on Instagram, and they were just blowing up. I had 5,000 followers at the time, but our pictures were getting like 20,000, 30,000 likes. And people were just going crazy for this like type of content. And looking at a lot of marketing structure now and business structure, this whole going viral, this content creation is so key within businesses. But back in 2016, it was only just kind of getting started, when I don't think people realized the importance of social media content, how big it is for brands. So we kept just jumping on that bandwagon. And then one day, a publication in the US messaged me and said, we really love what you do on Instagram. Can I share your content? And we just thought, yeah, fine, that's not a problem. Woke up the next morning, they'd posted a video on Insider Beauty, which is a massive publication in the USA, and we woke up with 20 million views. Our Instagram page had gone from 5,000 followers to about 200,000 followers. Our Facebook had done the same, and we were just selling more stock that we even had stock of. People just went absolutely bonkers for these products. And this is when my mum and dad were still sending out all the orders from my old bedroom. And I was actually on a flight to India to have some time off for the month. So it just went absolutely crazy. And I think that's when I realized, okay, this could be a bit more than a hobby. Maybe this could actually be a business. And that's when I made enough money to hire my first staff member. And then over time, Shrine just kind of developed. We started working with Pretty Little Thing. We were in ASOS. We went into Superdrug. We started doing all the festivals. So we'd fly the team to America. We did Coachella. We did EDC. One of my staff members went to Paris Hilton's house and got her ready for Coachella. So many kind of top celebrities were coming to us. I was actually in Palm Springs and did a party with Kylie Jenner. So she was there and I was like 2 meters down doing everyone's glitter up. So it was just absolutely bonkers. It was such an on-trend product. Glitter jewels, it was very extreme. You either loved it or you hated it, but we were quite an extreme brand, and that's what was getting us noticed. We then started doing more mad viral things. We were putting glitter on bums, we were putting glitter in places you shouldn't put it. Looking back now, it was just, we're having fun, but actually looking back now, it was an amazing strategy because that got us viral again. We ended up going viral 5 times with Gypsy Shrine. We had Khloe Kardashian reshare our glitter bums, saying on her Instagram and Facebook page, guys, should I do this? And it was one of the girls that worked for Gypsy Shrine that we just glittered up her bum. So like all these like crazy content ideas were just getting us noticed. And that is why we kind of rocketed like that. And there was no strategy, there was no planning. It was just kind of, this is a good idea, let's run with it. And I think that's what made the Gypsy Shrine so special. It was just a bunch of us in the office just being really reactive and just working really hard. We had the opportunity for Little Mix. We're getting ready one Halloween party, and the makeup artist called me up on that morning and said, I'm doing Perry Edwards makeup today. She's going to be Ice Queen. Can she use your Ice Queen jewels? Well, she was doing a makeup in 2 hours. So we had to call all these carriers in Manchester. We found a guy that could come and pick the jewels up, drive them to Manchester. And we just did it just within time. And then she posted that on her Instagram with how many followers? 4 million followers, tagged Shrine. And it was just all just keeping that momentum and that excitement with all of our following and our customers. It was just like a really exciting time for Shrine. And then COVID hit. So obviously a lot of businesses had to take a different direction in their routes. We'd luckily already done a rebrand on the Gypsy Shrine to become Shrine, because I knew face jewels and glitter weren't going to last forever. It was very trend led, but luckily we'd been developing Drop It, which is a new way to colour your hair. And that luckily launched 2 months before lockdown. And that's kind of when the whole business took a bit of a pivot. We had so many of our retailers cancel all of our face jewel orders because as lockdown was happening, Glastonbury announced it cancelled. Then every other festival announced it cancelled. So I think we had about £200,000 worth of purchase orders cancelled within a day, which that was kind of the money to drive this business for the next few months with all of our staff levels. So it was quite a crazy time, as a lot of businesses faced, but we were very fortunate that we then had this hair dye and all the salons closed, and people then started to get furlough, and they realized that, okay, I'm sat in the house, I'm bored, I can have coloured hair. And then that just rocketed. So I think lockdown had a negative effect on us, but then had a really positive effect because it rocketed a product that probably wouldn't have done as well as it has done if it wasn't for lockdown. And then we launched Drop It into Boots. So we went into 500 doors into Boots. We're now in Superdrug. We've recently launched last year in Walmart in the USA. And all of that is just from me finding contacts on LinkedIn and messaging people, making up their email addresses, and just pitching in hard to kind of get those Zoom calls. So with Walmart, I found the buyer through LinkedIn, just emailed a load. She finally said, yeah, I'll take a Zoom call with you. So we kind of did that whole process during lockdown, through Zooms, just on email. And then we launched Drop It into 1,200 stores at the beginning of this year. Just completely, where in the past you'd have had to fly out to Arizona, I think the offices are, and it would all had to be done in person. So it was actually, again, saved a lot of time, just this whole new Zoom world, allowing us to create such big contracts through Zoom. So that's kind of where Shrine's up to at the moment. Where, yeah, I guess that's Shrine. I might leave that one there unless people have any questions on Shrine. And then Refy, I met Jess at a photo shoot about 2 or 3 years ago now. And she was just doing her eyebrows one day, and I was looking at her and she's taking ages, and she had like 7 different products. And I was asking her what she actually did to do her eyebrows. And she told me, and I was like, okay, that's crazy. It takes a huge amount of time. And then we went away, we started drawing up this product idea, and came up with a product idea, which is now our brow sculpt. And we sent it off to our factory, and they said, yeah, we can develop it. And that's when I thought, okay, this product is fantastic, but it doesn't really make sense with Shrine. It's a very different product. It's not hair dye. I could have launched it with Shrine, but it wouldn't have made sense with the brand, because we're very party with colour, but it's not spiky, bushy eyebrows. So that's when I thought, okay, maybe I should just start a brand new business, and see if I can take everything I've learned from Shrine and kind of perfect it, make it a bit better, and kind of start again. And it was almost a bit of a test to see if I could do that. And that's when Refy launched. So I own Refy with Jess. The whole business model is the marketing behind it. So Jess, you don't really see me on the Instagram. You'll probably never see me on their Instagram. Jess is the face of the brand, and she is what kind of sells a product and makes a product and branding very desirable. And she's got a massive audience. So we were launching this brand, and I think this is definitely one of the biggest struggles Shrine usually has. It is the marketing. Marketing costs so much money, and you can never really measure whether it's right or wrong. It's almost just a off chance that it's working. But we launched Refy with Jess with 1.2 million followers. So we already had that customer that we could build a brand around. We knew who we were talking to. We knew what the customer wanted. We could look at them. We could go on their Instagrams. We could go, okay, right, this is their style. This is what they like. This is what they don't like. And we can almost profile the customer before we started the brand. And I think because we had that insight, it allowed us to really know who we were speaking to as a customer. And that launched last November and has just gone absolutely bonkers, to be completely honest. And I think that is the power of social media, or the social media of today. A good product, which took 2 years to develop, combined with a massive marketing outreach, where we sent it to Molly May, and we sent it to, I think, probably about 500 influencers. And because Jess is an influencer, and if you're in that field, you kind of want to help each other out, because they're thinking, right, well, I might launch a brand one day, and if I help you now, you might help me when I do one. So that just had a trickle-on effect. We had, so many people just resharing it for free, and that it just created this massive hype and this massive desirability, I guess, of people wanting the product. We had Hailey Bieber, who's got 25 million followers, share the brand, tag us, like absolutely insane. You'd pay 100,000 plus just for her to do what she did for free. And that's all because the branding we created with Refy was so solid that people wanted to talk about it. They wanted to share it because it was seen to be cool and it seemed to be desirable. But obviously there's a lot of like background work that goes into that. So that's kind of a little bit about the brands. I'd love to kind of talk through a bit more about our departments, just so everyone can see kind of how it all fits together. And again, if you are an apprenticeship now, kind of what that looks like in areas that might excite you for the future, or things that you're kind of doing. So at Shrine and Refy, I've now had over 4 or 5 apprenticeships start. Usually they've started in customer service and business admin, but our social media exec now started as customer service, and she just worked really hard. I noticed her and said, what do you want to do? And moved her over to social. Same with the girl that started on digital. She just came in, was doing really well, but wanted to do more graphics. So I noticed that, and then moved her over. So I think it's just kind of, if I go through the different departments, and then people do kind of, if you're working really hard, but you're maybe not loving what you're doing, it doesn't matter, because people do recognize you and they do kind of give you time and let you speak in what you kind of want to do. So one area I touched on, which is massive for us at Refy, is product development. So this, again, we launched in November, but we'd actually been working on the Brow Sculpt, which is a tiny product about this big, for 2 years. It took 2 years to develop. We had over 100 different samples. We worked with 20 to 30 different factories all around the world. So in Asia, in the UK, in Italy, in America, and we got samples in and they weren't right. We'd go back, we'd try and change them. And at one point we even thought, okay, this is not going to work. We're just going to have to give up. And then one day we actually received a sample and we're like, okay, this works. So that process, that people see a product, and I think people don't see the little tiny products in beauty, but they don't see all the hard work that goes in behind that to even get it to where it is. And when you're developing beauty, there is so many different regulations. Every country, EU, UK, USA, Asia, they all have different banned ingredients. They all have different regulations. So it's just the team size had to grow rapidly overnight. With what I thought I could do it on one person, we've now got a team of 6, again, just developing these tiny little products, but they take so long to get to where they want to be. But product development is a really interesting field because it's exciting. You're developing something that doesn't almost exist, and you're working with them factories, and it's really creative, but it takes a lot of time just to kind of get one little product perfect. And then along with all the product development, you've then got the logistics and the planning. So how many brow sculpts should we have ordered? I mean, we ended up selling out, so we probably should have ordered a few more, but you've got to kind of look at that, and that's what our merchandisers do. So they will look at any new product and they will look at kind of trends, how well they think it's going to sell, how many customers do we have, and they will say, right, okay, I think this might sell 200 units a day. So they'll look at that and create a forecast for maybe 2 or 3 months, and then we have to agree a buy-in. So that's when I'll go, right, okay, I'll sign off 15,000 units, and we just have to hope it sells. And that's kind of risky, and that's what we did with everything before we launched. We spent quite a lot of money on product that we had no data, we had no statistic on whether it would sell or not. We just had to go with our gut instinct. And sometimes a lot in business, you do just have to go with your gut. There's not always a right or wrong answer. It's just kind of what you feel. And we just thought these numbers looked right. Now we've got data, our planner can be a lot more strategic on what they're doing. But then again, on top of the product, you've then got to get the product to where you need to sell it. So we distribute in Sephora in the USA and through our own channel in the UK. So we have 2 big warehouses. So we have one warehouse in the UK, which we manage ourselves. So we have Refy team members in there packing and doing all the shipping. But then in the US, we have a huge 3PL in Chicago, which is like a third-party logistics company who we pay to do all of our logistics, and we'll send them orders and they'll ship them out for us. So that's been a fantastic add-on to our business to be able to allow us to supply to Sephora. Because if we didn't have that company, there's no way we could have set up a warehouse during COVID ourselves, hired staff in Chicago. So that really kind of allowed us to get our product into the Sephora stores easily, I guess. And then just kind of back on the product side, just the shipping. There's so many different ways we ship products. I mean, we're very lucky our products are little, because the bigger the product, the more size it takes up, the more cost it takes up. I mean, air freight at the moment is so expensive. Sea freight is so expensive. It's just delays everywhere. We had, on Christmas Eve last year, we had all of our stock stuck in Chicago's depot for about 2 or 3 weeks because it was just so over populated. But it's just kind of working through all those problems to try and get the stock to the stores, which is a massive, massive job. And something that is quite interesting because a lot of problem solving. So you've got a kind of problems will arise, stock will get stuck in places, and you need to kind of work through your distribution plans to kind of figure out what to do, what's the best option to do for that. And then the last big thing is the marketing, which I touched on before. Just making sure you can have the best product in the world, but it doesn't matter if no one knows about it. And that's kind of where your marketing comes in place. So just making sure that you're speaking to your customer in the right places. Us at Refy, we know our customer. They are 22 to 35 as our core customer. We then have customers outside of this bracket, but we know that is our core customer. So where we then target our marketing is all around where that customer is, what that customer does, how do they shop, how do they live. We're not going to do an advertisement in a newspaper because our customer isn't reading that newspaper. They're sat on TikTok, they're sat on Instagram. That's where we're going to target them at. So just when you look at marketing, it's so important to understand who are you marketing to and where are they looking for. And that's kind of what we did with Refy. It is very social. If you're on social media and you haven't seen it, then we're not doing our job properly. So that's when we worked with all the influencers. We do paid ads, we do social channels. We create like a lot of different content on there. And it's just making sure that's constantly kept up and maintained at all times. And then another big department as well, which is our customer service. And I think a lot of people disregard customer service to how important it is, but it is so resourceful. We get our customer service team to work with our product development team because if we're getting a lot of emails about, you know what, I love your pencil, but it's too dark for me. And customer service then don't work with the product development team. How can we ever improve our products? How can we make changes? So we really try and empower our customer service team to speak up because they're speaking to the customer and they know the customer better than I know the customer or anyone. So I think that is such an important role within every company that sometimes people don't see the importance of. So if you are in a customer service role, try and start thinking about how you can use this knowledge of speaking with the customer to kind of feed back into the company to allow them to make improvements that will actually really help future developments or future ways that the company can work. We've had some great ones. For example, our bronzer shades, we keep getting the same skin tone, not being able to colour match. If our customer service team didn't then speak to our product development team, they'd never know. But because they have been working so closely together, we're now developing a brand new shade that will meet this skin tone that we're currently not meeting. And that is so important for kind of how we're going to progress as a brand. So yeah, they're a really special team. And they've both got one apprentice that works in that team and then one full-time staff member. But again, we're trying to grow it out at the moment. What else? But no, I think that's kind of everything in terms of, well, in a very short nutshell of business. But I think the biggest things to kind of take away from today is that absolutely everything you're doing will have some form of effect in the future in kind of what you are doing. I never would have been able to start any of my businesses if I didn't do my unpaid internships. Just even being socially aware of how to act in the office, being socially aware about how to kind of turn up to meetings, how to dress. It's just little simple things like that you learn along the way. And I think you might not love everything you do in every aspect of your role, but I still don't. No one does. That's not normal. 50% of your job you probably love doing. 50% you probably think, oh, I'd rather not do this, but I have to do this. But that just kind of comes with time. And I think try not to rush things, but try and take in a lot and definitely ask. When I was at Hugo Boss, they'd give me enough work to do for 2 hours. And then I'd just be sat there like, I've got nothing to do. So I'd constantly be on pressure on managers to give me more work, until she finally did give me more work. Don't just sit back and not do anything, because that's just a waste of time. Ask for more work, get involved in more departments. Say, I want to learn more about marketing. How can I get involved? People and employers, I love that. Like if someone comes to me and says, I want to get more involved in this, I'm like, this is music to my ears. Like you're hard working, you're determined. And then I notice them more. So definitely speak up. Don't kind of think, oh, no one's bothering with me. You're not bothering with them. So I think try and push yourself to kind of get noticed and go above and beyond, because like I say, every apprentice that's come to my company has done that, and I've spotted them, I've noticed them, we've worked together and we've got them on the right paths to what they want to do in their career. But I wouldn't have if they just kind of came in head down, walked out of the door at 5. I probably wouldn't have noticed them much, and they might have just left after their time there. But I kind of empowered everyone to go, right, whatever you want to do, speak up and let's get you there. So I think try and take that mentality away from today, that to get noticed, you have to speak up, and just to also just work really hard, because people do notice that as well. But yeah, I think that's everything. Probably talked too fast and at you for about.
No, you haven't, honestly. Thank you. I'm just going to, for the purpose, because I've been recording it, Jenna, I'm just going to stop the recording now.